Hello everyone, welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet that's secretly just going to be about WrestleMania, baby. I'm Will, and joining me this week, Brandon.
More like Kofi Mania, baby!
And Ilse.
I feel like you used that one before.
WrestleMania is only once a year, so if so, then it was exactly a year ago.
Well, I don't think he did. Maybe Rankamania, because copyright, trademark, by the way.
That's ours. Sorry, Vince, we own this.
Well, no, I think you said like something like, "Oh, this is secretly a wrestling podcast."
I think you're not, and you may be right. You're probably
well.
right, but that was also a lie that time, and it's also a lie this time because we're still going to talk about video games.
Well, there you go. Never trust us.
The intro, never trust it, not even yourself. Though I do want to say, small 3-man crew. Last week was a 3-man crew, but shout out to Brandon and Ilse for being the most consistent boys here. Always know they'll show up.
Thank you. I don't know if it's because we have the least amount of lives or we're just the most dependable. Well, it might be a little bit of both.
It's definitely that for me.
I think it was Jesus Christ himself who said that winning is 90% showing up, and I think that's exactly from the Bible. So
Nice.
I
remember that part. I wrote it.
You wrote it. So we will get to, I guess, the news first and foremost. Not I would say a ton, but there's a couple of wild things at play. Let's get into, I love to talk about rumors. I love to talk about leaks and whether or not they're real or fake or whatever. And we got another classic one. Almost, pretty close to a year ago, we got the Walmart Canada leak, where they leaked like 25 E3 games all at the same time.
Very good. Walmart takes a leak on E3, one of my favorite episode names.
That was a very good one. And I guess that guy got fired and got transferred to a new job at Best Buy because 3 games mysteriously showed up on their employee games list this week. And because this happens sometimes where games will get listed. This specific database, they have to basically get a ton of information from a publisher. You don't just put like a name of a game in there. So there's a little bit more credence to this than some other listings. But the 3 games we can talk about in order of when they first showed up. A game that's been rumored, Persona 5S showed up. Now, you might say, wait, didn't we hear about another Persona thing back around like January? And you did. That was called Persona R. But at the same time, they also got the copyright in the website for Persona 5S, which appears to be a Switch version.
The S stands for Switch.
The S stands for Switch. Let's assume.
Okay.
Let's assume.
Dragon Quest S, right? Dragon Quest 11 S? Something like
yes. Yeah. Though the R stands for Royal. I don't know why. But so this is interesting because one, I just want to point this out.
Wait a minute. You don't know why? Of course you know why. Japanese naming conventions of games.
Okay, that is the correct answer. But within those depths, I just stare into the abyss and it stares back at me. But I want to note that they will be putting out on the 3DS Persona Q2, Persona 5R, and Persona 5S all within the year. QRS back to back. They are madmen.
Fucking got 'em. Take that shit, Alphabet.
I mean, in this, I feel like isn't really a surprise because you mentioned already that it's been heavily rumored.
Yeah.
And Joker's in Smash, so, no surprise.
Yes. Though I do think it's interesting because people sort of heard Persona 5R and thought, oh, this is just going to be the Switch version too. But we might get another situation with Persona 3, where there's Persona 3 FES, which is the updated, we added a couple things to it, and then Persona 3 Portable, which is the PSP version that also has a bunch of new stuff. So there's no clear definitive version of Persona 3 to play.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And Persona 5 might end up with the exact same situation. And
I don't like that.
You need one of those charts that people make for pre-order bonuses, like which one gets comes from
the charts.
Oh god, yeah. When you need a chart for that shit, you got a problem.
Persona 5S has Goro as a pre-order bonus. That was the first time I ever saw it was Mortal Kombat 9. There was a million of them.
Speaking of Persona, right? Isn't Joker supposed to come out this month for Smash?
Yeah, they said in the last direct that April, and then on their page it went from approaching in April to just approaching ... And Best Buy, speak of the devils.
Oh yeah, speaking of Best Buy, yeah.
On their online ads had just a render, Joker's render. That's probably going to be his character select render on their ads, and then they took it down quietly like 12 hours later.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
Nintendo's just been making a lot of angry calls to Best Buy the last couple of days.
That's why they got rid of Gamers Club Unlocked.
That's it. They're unleashed.
Oh, no.
And then after that, a game that has also been rumored, but I'm excited for if it does exist. I guess a re-release, really. Metroid Prime Trilogy was listed.
Sweet.
Which
always good news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because Metroid, I'm sure they were thinking of like having it tie in to Metroid Prime 4 and it was coming out, but now that clearly has been moved so far enough away that just put it out whenever, like there's no reason to try to tie it into any releases. But whenever that happens, I'm just going to be happy for it. There's not a lot to say.
You know what? So I never bought the first one because I already had all 3 games. I had the 2 on GameCube and then the third one.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really see the point in it. It was released on the Wii and Wii U, correct?
Yes. Through the Wii Virtual Console, it got released on
the Wii Virtual Console. Right. So I never got it, because I was like, well, I already own the games. I think I might get it in this scenario because I think it'll probably have controller support for all 3 games, like Pro Controller.
Yeah, I think
and for me, I really like Metroid Prime 3, but my arm gets really fucking tired when I play that game.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Because you have to just like be constantly pointing at the
your
screen
wrist is constantly having to move,
yeah, your wrist and your arm. Because I like hold my arm up, and it's a marathon play that game. I get kind of tired, so I'm really into the idea of playing that game with a controller.
Yeah, and obviously they're all 3 really good games. So like,
yes, definitely that.
Well,
if you have not played those games,
one good game.
Sure, that's.
I don't know about part 2. Is kind of
don't let Noah hear that, but I agree.
What?
Crying right now. Somewhere.
Noah's
Why
favorite.
is he always the fan of like the Dark
Noah's
Horse
favorite
games?
Metroid game is Prime 2.
Jesus,
he's a.
Well, is it Prime 2 or is it Other M? We don't.
No. Poor guy isn't here to defend himself. That's what he gets. He
has a very specific taste in Metroid games. So
he's
a
particular.
2, I like that game though. It's still a good game.
It's good. It's just not as good as
1 and 3. I think are on a tier above in my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that'll be interesting whenever that comes. Hopefully, with all these things, I wonder if last year we got you might remember we got a Nintendo Direct Mini in January last year.
How could I forget? I still think about it every day.
And that was the burning Chibi Robo, the Chaos, and then
you're talking about that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
think about that too because I think about Chibi Robo every day.
That's true. He's a good friend. But but that was all. It was basically a bunch of ports and then one new game, which is Mario Tennis Aces, being announced. And I feel like if we do have Metroid and we do have this, and Pikmin's been rumored, Pikmin 3 at least, I feel like April might be a good time to sort of like have a Nintendo Direct Mini, show off a bunch of ports, and then show about Mario Maker 2 because that game is 2 months off now, which is pretty insane. So maybe, I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day about how they announce ports.
Dump them out, Nintendo.
Yeah. People need to play Metroid Prime Trilogy definitely, and I wouldn't mind having a chance playing Persona 5. I could play it now, but I'm just too lazy.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one is the weird one. I can't quite figure this one out. So, Link to the Past showed up in the database.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. What?
And people say, wait, what? Hold on, what? So there's a lot of questions of what this means. We haven't heard much one way or the other, but there's sort of, I think, 3 possible scenarios for this that I would imagine. One is, hey man, Grezzo hasn't worked on anything since like Ever Oasis, and even then that was like half of their team, and they were hiring for a Zelda game roughly a year and a half ago. So like, maybe while Nintendo themselves were working on Link's Awakening, they are working on a Link to the Past remake, which would be crazy to put 2D Zelda remakes in a year. The other one is that they do list, if you get a pre-order bonus, like a download code for a game, they list that as a separate thing in their entries. So it might be that, hey, to help justify $60 for Link's Awakening, you get the Link's Awakening remake and Link to the Past just as a thing to download straight to your Switch.
And it might be like a Link to the Past kind of at that point, maybe those Super NES games that are rumored,
sure,
might be out. So it's just kind of we'll add it to that, and that might be the only way to get it for a while.
Oh, jeez.
Which would be wild, and that would be pretty crazy. But that's a non-zero chance. And then the other one is maybe, because they like to do this sometimes. Snipper Clips, for example, got a physical release, so maybe a game like Cadence of Hyrule might get a physical release, and with that comes Link to the Past. So basically a way to like help bump up some value of the other Zelda games that are coming out this year. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, I would just really love like a very pretty, like loving, like Link's Awakening is getting a very loving treatment with its remake. Link to the Past deserves that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
more.
Probably. I mean, yeah. Link's Awakening has like aged probably graphically worse, so it benefits a little bit more from that because it was on Game Boy.
Excuse me, sir.
I mean, it's a great looking game, wonderful art style, but it's stuck on that green screen. There's some issues there. But yeah, so we'll see about what that is. It could, once again, there's always the chance that wherever it's not officially announced, things can change and can fall through. But I think those first two, when I first saw them, I was like, that makes sense. And then Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I imagine, like they said, we're going to get probably, at latest, it's going to be a month or two from a direct. So they'll have news on this stuff. But moving on from there, we got, hey man, who's the man I have to mention every week?
Jason Schreier.
Jay Schreier. And he earned it this week. He had a heck of a long of an article about where Anthem went wrong was basically the whole premise of it. And he had 19 sources in that article talking about the game and sort of talking about the development of it. And it goes through the full, roughly 6 years that game had from inception to it coming out. And there's some, I would just recommend reading the whole thing. We're not going to summarize all of it, but
it's long as fuck.
It's very long, but there's some little details in there. For example, flying is in that game. It was the big thing they were sort of marketing and showing off when the game first got gameplay reveal. That was removed roughly and then put back in roughly 3 to 4 times throughout development. And literally one time, the last time it was implemented and stayed was because they were showing an executive at EA the demo, and he said, "This is boring, guys. You need to do something else." And so they basically spent the 6 weeks before E3 making a demo to show off to that EA executive, and part of it was adding flying back in. And so they add all this in. That's the demo we see at E3, and they didn't have the name Anthem decided until literally a week before the game was shown off officially.
Right. It used to be called like Beyond, right?
Yeah.
Like
and I think they realized that Beyond sounds a little bit like Destiny and stuff like that, so maybe they thought that wouldn't quite work. But
no, I think they said they would have too hard of a time copywriting it.
Oh, that also probably makes sense.
What about Beyond Two Souls? Isn't that already a game?
That is already a game, and there's
Beyond
podcast
Good and Evil
Beyond.
too.
Well, it was Beyond right? It was Beyond semicolon and then Two Souls or something.
Yeah, the Ellen Page game. But so that was interesting.
Sleeping on my man William Dafoe over here. Come on,
you're right. Well, he wasn't on the box art, sadly. If only.
He should have. Just him should have been on.
Just Willem Dafoe's face.
I agree.
Smiling at us. Oh God. But yeah, but then they had other details in there, such as that eventually, like for like literally years, they had like concepts and all these other things, but no one was ever making any decisions on what the game was going to actually be up until like 18 months from when the game was supposed to be out. And so ultimately, they said, "Fine, we'll make it like Destiny. We'll do that." But then also at the same time, they said, no one can discuss Destiny in these meetings. We cannot talk about what they did better or worse because we don't want to make it seem like we're ripping them off. But what that just means is it repeated tons of mistakes that Destiny 1 made because they weren't willing to look at the competition and see what mistake and what they learned along the way. And so
many good decisions here. I mean,
yeah.
Like just the thought of them having like this attachment to like, Anthem being like this super cool game, but never having it defined. They just wanted like to keep. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking.
God, welcome to AAA game development in 2019.
Yeah,
if this was like an indie game, like it would be a lot more palatable because there wouldn't be so much on the line. But
yeah,
the AAA game, like a whole fucking studio can go down for stuff like this.
Yeah, hundreds of people's jobs are on the line. You know,
Yeah.
That sucks. It's stupid, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like the way that the game industry is so like unsustainable, basically.
yeah,
It's crazy. And the thing too is like, when if it was an indie game, and tons of indie games do this, where they go, okay, we're gonna draw inspiration from this,
sure.
and they're not afraid to even announce, even when they're talking about the game, hey, we drew inspiration from some of our favorite games like Mega Man
Mhm.
or Mario or Sonic, and and it shows through the gameplay, but people don't like just look at it and go, oh, it's a ripoff. They say like, oh, look at this. This is really cool. They took inspiration but made it their own thing. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that.
Nothing's wrong with that. We all learn from each other.
Yeah, for real.
It was this really strange thing too, because like you said, like it's just this unwilling. It's like it's not willing to admit what you're making. Like it's okay to just say, hey, like this is a thing where this game was going to be huge, and Destiny 1 was a big success. Like you can say it was, and so like it's fine to take notes from it, and also it's a genre, right? It's like saying that we're going to make an RPG and just not acknowledge any Final Fantasy game that's ever been made, and you're like,
Yeah, for real.
why? But and the thing is that like you said, not only does this have a problem with game development, but it has a problem with the people that are working on these games, right? I mean, I don't want to quote too much, but like I want to do this one in specific, which was that over the last 2 years, dozens of developers, many of them decade-long veterans, have left BioWare. Some who have worked at BioWare's longest-running office in Edmonton talk about depression and anxiety. They say that many of their coworkers have had to take stress leave, a doctor-mandated period of weeks or even months of vacation to help their mental health. One former BioWare developer told me that they would frequently find a private room in the office, shut the door, and just cry. People were so angry and sad all the time, they said. Another said that depression and anxiety were an epidemic within BioWare at the time. I can honestly not count the number of stress casualties we had on Mass Effect Andromeda and on Anthem. A stress casualty at BioWare means someone who had such a mental breakdown from the stress that they just disappear for months at a time. Some come back and some don't. And you're just like, this is like, it's awful. Genuinely.
It sounds
Yeah, it's
horrifying.
terrible.
Holy shit.
Terrible.
Like there's no job that tech can be stressful. That's an understood thing. But there's a difference between having a stressful job and having a job where you will just have to disappear because you're suffering from breakdowns, right?
Yeah.
That's awful, and I feel like it all stems from like, deadlines and expectations and all these things to just build up on people. It's not.
Yeah, and
It just-
also, I mean,
It's awful.
BioWare's also embraced recently like that crunch time shit, right?
Yeah.
Like they've been really heavily into that.
I mean, they
Especially in
mentioned-
Mass Effect.
I
And
get it. I get you want to make deadlines, but like not at the risk of your own health. Like I feel like people are understanding, right? Like I mean, we are, and I feel like most people who play video games are pretty understanding. Where hey, we want to make the best game we can, so like we're not going to make this deadline. I don't know,
Sure.
But big corporations breathing down your neck make it awful.
Well, I mean, it was a rough thing because, I mean, Ills, like you sort of alluded to, they specifically talk in this article about Dragon Age Inquisition, how Dragon Age was in a similar situation, how it was a bunch of disparate pieces and nothing was coming together, and then they crunched for about 5 months and the game worked out, ultimately, right? And it came out and it sold well. And they were saying, like, man, like, when it sold well, we were happy because clearly our jobs were there, but it taught a lot of the top brass the wrong lessons on how this goes, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, they literally say that they relied on the idea of BioWare magic to mean basically to say that the game would come together in the end. But you can't rely upon that when you're making a game. That's like,
No.
That's like playing a game of Russian roulette and just hoping that it'll keep working out over and over. Like eventually you're not gonna get an empty chamber. Like
yeah, it's gonna catch up to you eventually. I mean,
yeah. And
you
so
can't just keep pushing people to their brink and hope it's gonna
No.
work out. It's tragic, actually.
Yeah.
It is. And like I see like, it's not all bad throughout the gaming industry because I see plenty of things, videos and behind the scenes of different gaming studios. And like, for an example, when we played Psychonauts recently, I was, super excited about 2. So I was looking up stuff about the development in that game, and it looks like they're just having a blast
Sure.
making that game. They're having a fun time. Everybody, is excited to talk about it, excited about the progress they made. And I'm like, see, this is like, think about that. I'm like, that's how game development should be. People should be happy, and really love in what they're doing.
I mean, because they had, like, I think we mentioned it a couple times on that episode of the Game Club, but, like, they have documentaries that Double Fine did, especially during the Broken Age time, where they talk about the highs and the lows of game development. And there's always going to be highs and lows, right? But it's mitigating those lows, right? And so, people are now having conversations about the idea of, like, unionization for game developers, right? Basically having fundamental things of, you can't work this many hours, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? And that's, a larger conversation that we're not fully equipped to, handle all the intricacies of.
No.
But, like you said, there is a fundamental that's like, it's sad that this has been a thing I've read about over the last couple of years, that essentially there's a crisis in higher level game developers in the industry, because so many get burnt out by the time that they're 35 that they move on to other tech industries, because they don't feel like they can sustain working in video games with older age and with family and with children and with the obligations that life brings. And so now companies are struggling to find people that have these decades of experience that you need to be able to guide these large scale games. I mean, that's what happened in BioWare. Casey Hudson left right at the start of Anthem's development, and they were sort of scrambling ever since to find a project head that was willing to make these decisions. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to constantly buff them up, but, like, Nintendo, very rarely does anyone ever leave Nintendo in terms of if they get hired there. And that's, and you can say it's because, of the games they make and yada yada, but I think actually a big reason is that they put out their employee stats a couple months back, and the average employee works an 8-hour day. And, like, nice. Especially for Japan, that's not super common, right?
I forgot about it, 'cause from Japan, they're, like, super into work.
Yeah, and so, like, part of it's also like, hey, if you treat your employees well, you can get a game out, right? Like, it's fine. Good work, in a few hours can be better than 8 hours of bad work, And so I think that we've had this conversation a little bit before, back when the Rockstar stuff happened, but this was just another, even I think more clear example of just how this stuff can affect people. So it's, like I said, really interesting article. Read it if you want. And
treat your employees right.
Yeah. And
Vince
also,
McMahon.
Yeah, we're John Oliver and all over here.
We should probably link those articles in the description.
Sure. Yeah. I'll make sure to leave them in the channel, and then Brandon, I guess, when you post it.
Somebody remind me.
We will.
Look at the paste bin.
Paste bin below. Hey, we hit it early this week.
Look at that. Definitely.
So, yeah, there's a couple of little follow-up pieces of news from last week. We got what was probably a leaked date for Borderlands just be confirmed as a real date, which is September 13th for Borderlands 3.
Nice.
Which is very surprising to me, because in that trailer they didn't have a year period. So I thought, like, is this going to hit 2019? But no, they clearly had a date in mind.
Yeah. Weird that they waited, but like they only waited like fucking 6 days,
like a week?
But all right.
Sometimes that's how marketing works sometimes.
That box art you posted, was that real?
That was real. They could not
is.
figure out a way to make the guy point at his head with 3 hands, so they went with a Virgin Mary look for the Psycho, which is pretty wild.
Nice.
I love it. It's great.
I'm a fan, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And then also, I mean, just a really quick side thing. Good news for Borderlands, if you are interested in the series. Apparently pre-orders are very high for that. Already, the people are hungry for Borderlands.
Very good. I'm very excited. Although you wouldn't be able to tell going through the Borderlands comments, because people are butthurt because we didn't mention it yet, but it's on Epic Game Store for the first 6 months exclusive on PC.
Oh, nice.
And every time I just people are mad.
People get mad. It's like, it's funny because I feel like if they almost started complaining now, I would have more sympathy. Like when you're starting with like Metro and you're still complaining now, it's a little bit different. But like truly, if you want to play any AAA game in 2019 on your PC, you're gonna need to have Epic Game Store at this point, right? Like they've just
the common complaint I see, because I tried asking, because I just didn't get it, right? Because to me it's like all you got to do is download, like you already have a PC. If you're a PC gamer, all you got to do is download another client and it's free, so I don't see the big deal. So I asked somebody, I was being kind of sarcastic about it. I called them a bunch of entitled wine crybabies, and then they got mad at me. But somebody nice explained it in a nice way. They said, most people are mad because Epic Game Store has no security, or their security is terrible, and people are afraid they're going to get their information stolen. And then I kind of wanted to point out, well, you're talking to me on Facebook. You think your information is safe here, bud?
Sure,
but but the point is, I guess I understand that in a way.
There's validity. I mean, like, Epic Games Store only recently added the ability to search their store.
Yeah, I heard that complaint.
And
too,
you're like, and so like clearly, like, it needs to be further along if it wants to truly be this like big monolith that it's presenting itself now with having all these exclusives.
And I get that, like a search bar, like, come on, dude, you gotta have that shit. That's like me with this official Shonen Jump manga app. I was like, this shit doesn't even save your spot where you read a chapter. I was like, what the hell is this? So, like, now they've added a bookmark feature, but they didn't have it for, like, the first, like, 3 months. And I was like, come on. How am I supposed to read stuff if I can't even save my spot?
I like this is the fourth time I've heard you rant about this. And every time, you have the same amount of... I appreciate it, Brandon. You have a passion for it.
Yes. He's consistently enraged.
Consistently enraged. So, I mean... that's a little thing about Borderlands. We got a fun little like 5-minute arc earlier today on Thursday, which was Mike Tyson saying, "There's a new Punch-Out, I'm not in it. What the heck, Nintendo?" And then you thought, wait, did he just leak a new Punch-Out game? And then you find out, no, Punch-Out's being added to NES Online, and Nintendo tweeted about it. And I think Mike Tyson just found out about the Mr. Dream swap.
Oh man.
Which is pretty cool. And by that I mean that's very funny.
It is very funny. He actually played it like not that long ago. It was a couple of years ago for the first time. Somebody, like, I don't even remember. It was on like a talk show. It was like Jimmy Fallon or some shit. Sure. It was like, "Can you beat yourself?" And he sucked.
No,
of course not.
So bad.
I mean, it's hard to even be good at that game. And if you first time playing, no.
I think they tried to have him against Glass Joe, and he couldn't even handle it.
Oh no, that's a shame.
He's been punched in the head a lot. So.
You're about to say he's not working with the full tank.
Oh, poor Mike.
Yeah.
He's a good boxer, so that's what matters.
Yeah. We got a couple of announcements. Bethesda is going to have their E3. Don't worry about that. And Nintendo had announced that they are going to bring back their Splatoon tournament from last year and their Smash tournament for E3 this year, which is always an enjoyable watch. So that's fun. The people out there that were thinking, oh no, they're not going to do an E3 Direct now either. Don't be dumb, because they always announce these things first. And they always announce the E3 Directs later, because you don't announce your Direct 2 months out. So that's generally the news for this week. Not, like I said, not too much, but there was some stuff in there. Got heavy for a minute. But you want to take a moment, boys, to talk about some games that we've been playing in our own lives.
Oh, man.
Current games.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, I promised you a year ago that we would play A Way Out, and I failed you. And so I think ultimately you just decided to find someone else, which was the smart decision.
Yes.
And you've beaten it. So
yeah, I did.
How do you feel about A Way Out?
I feel really good about A Way Out. I liked it a lot. You know what I really liked about it?
What's that?
The achievements were really easy to get. I got them all on one playthrough.
Jesus Christ.
Good.
Also, they're like they're all like rare achievements, like the ones with the little diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1% of like some of these achievements people got. But to be fair, you would have had to use the god to get like half of them because they're super obscure.
Did you get the Zelda thing?
I did. Yeah,
that
with
great.
The sword. Yeah, that was amazing. Oh man, a lot of good references. The game though, so A Way Out. Co-op game, you have to play it in co-op.
Yes.
Super cool thing about it is when you download it, you can send it to your friend. You can send a copy to your friend, and because you have to play it in co-op, and just say, "Hey, download this for free."
Yeah, basically, buy one get one free in terms of copies. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. But I played it locally, local co-op, and you play as Vincent and I can't remember the other guy's name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you play as two dudes. You escape jail.
Out of jail. Yeah.
Yep, you escape. You find out you got a common enemy, so you want to escape jail and get revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're on the run. You know, you're fugitives. And then you also try to plan your revenge and doing all that. It's fun. It's very cool. The story's cool. The two characters are they got a good chemistry. Kind of like opposites. One's a hothead. One thinking clearly. Very Rush Hour kind of, and then that's
your
right?
first thought. It's
like
Rush
a buddy
Hour?
cop. Yeah.
Listen, that's the best buddy cop film of all time.
What? Lethal Weapon? What are you
Jesus
talking
Christ.
about?
Die Hard 3, buddy. Come on.
Also true.
Okay, those are also all very good, but I just love Rush Hour. Right? Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan, best combo. Oh, now I want a Rush Hour game. But anyway, the game is all played in co-op. Lots of moments where you just do like button sensitive like things like, oh, I gotta open a door, come help me. So you both like press the right trigger at the same time. Like the gameplay is weird, where it's almost like it's barely anything at points.
Sure.
You know, it's just go to one point, do this, press this button, go to, you know. But there's also some really, really interesting mechanics because it does a lot. It does a lot. I feel like the game tries to cram in a lot there.
Yeah.
Because there's driving sequences, there's shooting parts, you know, where you're third person shooter. Like none of it feels like super amazing.
Yeah. But there's variety there to help keep any of it from standing out too much.
Exactly, right. And you don't have to do any of them for a very long time. So that's the really cool thing. And there's even like really simple things in the game that like you there's a part where you can literally sit down and play fucking Connect 4.
Yeah, I saw that part. That looks fun actually. I was kind of
like there's a time where you go to an arcade cabinet, you can play like a little like competitive like arcade game, kind of like Pong. It like just random stuff in there that's like really cool that they threw in. Yeah, you can play darts, you can play basketball, just random stupid shit. And I don't know, it's really cool, it's really fun. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And no, just me and my friend who played it, we're just on a co-op kick, so we're gonna play all the Gears of War's games now.
Oh boy,
just in a row. We're gonna marathon them because he got Game Pass the other day, and he was like, "Did you know all the Gears of War games were on Game Pass?" I'm like, "I could have told you that, man."
I don't know, the Jump Up Supercast.
Yeah, but now he's like, "Well, do you want to play them all?" And I was like, "Sure, why not? I got Game Pass. Download them. Let's do it."
Yeah, nice. That's cool. That's the co-op. It's like, by the way, I guess we should mention really quickly, Borderlands 3 got confirmed on the Xbox website, lists having cross-platform play. So that's cool, by the way.
Ooh.
Xbox and PC, probably.
Hey, you want to play with me? You can download on the PC. You don't even need an Xbox. Look at that.
How about that? But there you go. So that's cool. Ills, you've been playing. We talked about this game a little bit a couple weeks ago because they announced the developer announced a new game.
Yeah.
Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah, Hyper Light Drifter, yeah. I've been playing that. I just started playing it yesterday. And I put like 5 hours into it so far. And it's so like, it's really, really good. And it's like, all the imagery is super well done. Like, it's so evocative. It's so effective. Like, whenever you play it, like, it's very eerie because it's like a post-apocalyptic world. Sorry. And, yeah, it's just like so much. It's so environmental. I don't know how to fucking.
It's like
talk about it too well.
You touch on with atmospheric there, a thing that I think really like that game, because people talk about how like I think people were surprised at how hard it was when it first came out, but like it's a game that I think presents because a lot of times with pixel art people can think that like it's simplistic or XYZ, but it really presents a world that like you find yourself being pulled into a lot as you play it. Like you just everything has such bright, strong aesthetics that every little part of it is interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking when I was playing this that it's sort of inaccessible at the beginning, but then the more you dive into it, the more you get pulled in.
Sure.
So like at first I was like, oh man, I have no idea where to go, and nobody's talking. Like there's no direction at all. There's nobody talks in words. They're talking pictures basically.
Yeah,
it's hard to get into, and that's why I had such a hard time playing this game for a while, or at least getting into it. But once you put your mind to it and you really start to, start down a path, you really get into it. You really want to play more and more. So I think I'm gonna like finish it pretty quickly because I just want to keep playing it.
Yeah, 5 hours in a day that's a good indicator that you're enjoying something.
Yeah. And I don't think it was that difficult. Like the combat.
Sure.
Like it can be strict. It can be hard. Like the enemies can be powerful, but you're also pretty powerful too.
Sure.
So it's like you have to make sure you hit them before they hit you, basically. Yeah. And the bosses are really, really cool so far.
It's funny.
Like,
I can still
The
remember
imagery
that
of the
trailer.
world. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was speaking of the imagery. I remember that for like that very first trailer where I saw it, and there's the giant. I forget the name of it, but it's the thing with the glowy eyes, and it opens its mouth and it roars. Right,
Yeah.
like that trailer is 6 or 7 years old now, but I still remember that shot very clearly in my brain because, like you said,
Yeah.
the imagery is so strong.
Yeah. It really is, and that shot is like from the beginning of the game. That's
Yeah,
as soon as you start the game, you see that basically.
which is cool.
But yeah, this story is told like it's very mysterious. They tell you almost nothing, but they show you they tell you a lot. Like, not tell you, but like they show you a lot through the environment, through the scenes that they show every so often. The flashbacks, or I don't know if they're flashbacks or whatever. It's so weird. I have no idea what's going on, but it's so like evocative. Like you get like really strong connections to that world.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that's like really video games are the best at as a medium, which is why it's nice to see games play into that, right? That being pulled into that world.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when I was playing it. Like as soon as you start to normalize a world, even with just language, you sort of lose something about storytelling.
Yeah,
this is just something I was thinking about, but like this game doesn't do that. No. You don't get any talking. You just have to be part of the world to understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interview that I still love that I read years ago that sort of touches on almost that specifically was Miyazaki, the Dark Souls director, not the Studio Ghibli Miyazaki. We're talking about reading fantasy books as a kid, but they were all in English, and so he didn't understand basically any of it, and it was mostly pictures and like a couple of words he would pick up, and so he would fill in a lot of these gaps in his brain, and he would make the worlds in his head essentially because it wasn't so clearly defined what was happening, and he sort of had that approach with his games. And I mean, you touch on there, the minute that you just even give this person's name is this and they say this, that prevents your mind from running wild on all the aspects of it.
It's like the game invites you to fill in the blanks, and once something does that, you become more invested in it because it becomes your story too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, that is really cool. Let's see, on my end, I've been playing. I downloaded a bunch of indie games after the last Indies showcase, and I've been playing two of them a fair amount, which was Moonlighter, which is a game that I heard about last year, and there's like a weird little subgenre of this, which is like RPGs that are also about running a shop that have cropped up over the years. I know there's that like Atelier one that has 20 games in it at this point, and this one is sort of in that ilk. It's two halves of a game. One is you running a shop in the day, and then at night you go out into these dungeons and you try to progress in the dungeons each and every time, but you're also killing enemies to collect materials, which you can craft and sell, or you can just sell as raw materials in your shop in the day. So, and the way the upgrades are done is through money. And so, it's like neither...
Sounds like Dark Cloud. That's what kind of reminds me of.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that. It's because part of it is upgrading. Like you can upgrade your weaponry, and that's how you get stronger. But you need materials and money for that. You upgrade the town. You upgrade your shop itself to have more little stalls to put stuff in. Which is cool. The music's really pleasant, and the pixel art. Like I think there was a while there where like a ton of games sort of had a very similar pixel art aesthetic, and it was all like vaguely retro. But I think now, Hyperlight Drifter is a pixel art game, Moonlighter is a pixel art game, but they look in many ways very different, and I think that both of them, Moonlighter just surprised me in how nice it looks on so much of it. So I'm enjoying that a lot. And then the other one is Blaster Master Zero 2, which is confusing name, but that I never finished Blaster Master 1.
Me neither.
But I played like halfway through, probably.
You guys should. That's a good game.
I believe it, but I really like playing. I've been enjoying playing 2 a whole lot because instead of it all being subterranean, because 1 was sort of a remake of the original NES Blaster Master. This one is now you're gone to space, and so because of that, they have within like little self-contained areas, but with a lot of optional stuff. You can get Metroidvania like stuff. So you get these little chips that show you maps of where there's little subplanets that have their own little challenges. Blaster Master, there's the part where you're in the tank and then the part where you're on foot. They've expanded on the on foot portions a whole lot in a way that's cool, where you now have this like dodge at any time. So if an enemy's coming at you, there's a little indicator, and if you press Y, you'll not only move out of the way, but you'll get a more powerful shot in. But you have a limited number of uses of them before it has to recharge. So, it's a maybe a little bit.
Sounds like the
but it's
Kingdom Hearts 2.
You can have different
Something
ones.
like
So there's like 4 different ones. And one's just like a straight shot. One's you dash in close on an enemy. And one is you actually just lay like mines and traps out for them to run over. And each of them have different situations. And they also have different, more guns for you to use based off. It's sort of like Gradius, where like the farther you get, the more power-ups you get more powerful weapons available to you. But if you get hit, you lose access to them. Yeah. But they've added in a couple more ones, and those are all cool.
It was like that in
there's
part 1.
I now find myself genuinely swapping from different items and weaponry more often than I did in 1. So the story is all right. There's a weird plant girl. When you get there, you will know. It's very weird, very literal interpretation of melons on this lady.
Oh, wow.
I'm downloading it right now.
Definitely a branding game, huh?
This is a branding game. I was like, whoa boy.
Why didn't you tell me when you first came across that? Now you tell me now on the podcast.
Well, I mean, good we found out live on air. And so yeah, but it's overall I'm enjoying it a lot too. They're both, neither of them are overly long, but that's good. I've been playing a lot of games that are 70-hour RPGs, and it was kind of nice to look at a game and be like, I might beat this in 2 days. And there's a pleasantness to that.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying those. I played like 5 hours of Sekiro, but that means I'm basically only in like the 3rd area, so I'll talk about that when I've actually gotten far enough to be like, hey, I can tell you a lot about it. But yeah, so those are some games we've been playing. I've enjoyed this conversation, but now we have to get serious because it's time for the list.
The list.
Don't have that Muzamil being a sad sack bringing us down this week.
Oh my god, every time.
But instead, we have my cat purring into the mic.
It's fine. There's much worse things. I'm sure that the cat's probably the most beloved member of the podcast.
Yep.
He
is.
The internet loves him.
The secret member.
Yeah, there you go.
Secret 4th member. He hasn't been unlocked
Wait,
yet.
secret 5th member, because Jason Schreier is the secret 4th member.
It's true. I like that a lot. So, I added 2 weeks ago. Ills added last week. I don't think either of us were supposed to be adding. But now, Brandon, and to continue the tradition, you are now adding to the list. Out of order.
Here we are.
You only had 40 minutes to think about it.
Only had 40 minutes to think about it. Not a lot of time, I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's my turn. I've been thinking for the last 40 minutes. I haven't been thinking about anything else.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
But no. You know what's a good game?
What's that?
Well, you know what's a good game series?
Okay.
No, I don't.
Kirby. Kirby's a good game series.
Right.
Do we even have a Kirby game?
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do either.
No.
So, it's time, my friends. And what's a better place to start than right at the beginning?
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy.
For the Game Boy. Man.
So just start right at the beginning. Let me tell you a little bit about Kirby's Dream Land, right? If you don't know, Masahiro Sakurai, our boy, our Lord and Savior, he made this game. All right, it was his first game he made. All right, him and his development team over at HAL Laboratories, they wanted to make a fun game. They wanted to make a game that was fun to play, could be challenging, but also very accessible to newcomers. So they when they were making the game, they just put a placeholder, a little circle, little eyeballs, and they were just like, okay, well, you know what? We love this guy now.
He's wonderful.
This is gonna be the guy. He's gonna be the guy. He's gonna be a circle with eyeballs.
We perhaps made the best video game character ever made.
Ever.
Just a little placeholder, man. He became the actual character, and people just fucking love Kirby. He's so adorable. Originally though was not pink.
No.
He was white.
Yeah, he's on the box art. He's gray.
Box art, he's white, and for some reason in America, he's always fucking mad. Always mad.
He was not mad yet. He did not yet become angry.
He was not mad. I don't know. Have you seen the commercials for this game?
Yes, I have. They are
pretty
frightening. Oh man,
They are. But anyway, the game though, it is fun.
Yeah.
It is very fun to play. I gotta say, it is also very easy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can beat it in like a half an hour.
yeah.
It even has a hard mode or whatever. It has like a harder mode after you beat the game that you can replay it, and even that still really fucking easy.
Does Kirby even have his copy powers in this game? I don't think he does.
Kirby doesn't. He doesn't.
He's
he does
not yet got
not yet.
the Kirby thing.
Not until Kirby's Adventure,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because when you think of Kirby, you think of he can steal abilities and use them, and do all these crazy things. Sword and
All manner of powers.
judo chop. I don't know.
He can do everything.
Hammers. All his normal stuff. All he can do in this game is inhale enemies and shoot them back out and jump forever.
Which is pretty useful skills. The ability to jump forever.
Very
in a
useful.
platformer.
Yeah, makes it easy for newcomers for sure. So that's his main thing in the game is just inhaling enemies and either swallowing them or just shooting them out. I don't even know if you could swallow them, honestly. It's been a while. But the game it's very easy, like we said. But it's still
got a charm
pretty fun.
to it too.
It's got it's definitely got the charm. The charm is there. But
yeah.
the music also. I just want to say music. Very good music. I love the music in Kirby's Dream Land. The Kirby series has always had pretty damn good music. So
You can inhale enemies and shoot them out.
Yeah.
Yes, I said
No,
that.
I just sounded unsure about it.
About the swallow.
I was
aspect.
unsure if you could swallow that.
Oh.
Just to get rid of them.
My bad.
I know you could shoot
you can
them.
swallow them.
Oh, you can. Okay.
All
okay.
right. So, Brandon, Kirby's
Yes.
Dreamland. What do you think it goes on the list?
Kirby's Dream Land. To be fair, this game it's extremely simple.
It's very basic. You can get through it.
Very basic. It's still altogether, it's a very solid game.
Sure.
I think I want to put it like, oh, man. I feel like this is gonna sound like I'm being really hard on this game, but I want to put it in like, I'm looking at the 60s, guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
that's
sure. Yeah.
Because this game is very basic. I mean, I
yeah.
honestly cannot remember a lot of this game. I'm pretty sure I beat it, but
It's basically 4 levels. You probably beat it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've beat it multiple times, and I can barely remember anything because it's just like a fucking fever
There's
dream. You just go
Wispy
through it,
Woods.
it's done.
There's the Kracko level. There's one I'm probably forgetting, and then DDD. I think it's just 4 levels.
Yeah, it is literally just 4 levels.
And it just blends like so much. Like every Kirby game sort of blends into each other for me, well, except for like
Robobot.
Well, they bring a lot back.
Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, I say this often. I think about Game Boy games, but we just talk about a lot of them. But like, this game looks really good for a Game Boy game. Like, it's got a strong look to it that I think is really cool. Because like every time, I think this is a little side note, but I always look at like Super Mario Land, and then at like Link's Awakening, and at Kirby's Dream Land, and at even I'm forgetting one. I like Pokemon, and you're like, man, look at how much they got out of this little brick. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that means that it's some masterpiece. It's it's very enjoyable, but
It is, and it introduced us to a very cool series. Like I love Kirby.
Yeah.
I love all the Kirby games. Like,
and I do respect
there's-
making a game that like is supposed to be for everyone. I think that's a fair goal to set out with.
Oh yeah, definitely, and they definitely achieved it, but for sure. I wouldn't say they achieved a goal that makes, it's not challenging at all.
No.
You comes and goes. Kirby games have always been easy. There's some that basically just by adding collectibles, they've made it a little bit tougher for some of the Kirby games. Like you look back and okay, well I gotta go off the beaten path to get the collectibles. You know, so it's a little bit more challenging. This game doesn't have that at all, and it doesn't have its copy ability too. So I feel like even that kind of hurts it.
Yeah,
in terms of gameplay.
I was kind of hoping you would add Kirby's Adventure instead of this game.
Kirby's Adventure, I thought about it, but in Kirby's Adventure, I would place higher for sure.
Definitely.
I feel like I'd place almost every other Kirby
You
game
know?
higher, except for like maybe some of the crappy spin-offs.
This is a little side note, but I'm thinking about it, and I think Kirby's Adventure was the first game I ever beat when I was like 4 and my dad had an NES, and we didn't have anything else. I could not beat Mario Bros, but I could beat Kirby. So I think that means that their goal worked, at least. It was the 4-year-old could beat this game.
They did.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Mario's definitely harder than Kirby, that's for sure.
You can fall in pits in Mario, unlike in Kirby.
Yeah.
So where do you want it to be then, Brandon? You think in the 60s range, do you have a specific number you're looking at?
I'm thinking of the 60s. I'm honestly almost feeling like 72, which I feel like I don't know.
You know, I mean, I think I'll put it above New Super Mario Brothers 2. Probably. But I would be fine.
I feel like I wouldn't put it above Mario Tennis Aces.
Okay. You would?
I would not.
Okay, I probably wouldn't either.
But then all the games above Mario Tennis Aces are also very good.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, they're not... all these games... we're still in the good.
We've comfortably made a 30 like 40 through 70 is all actually good games now. We now have an actual good middle of the list.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place for it. Like, maybe like right above Mortal Kombat.
Right, that's what I said. That's what I thought. I thought the same thing. 72. New Super Mario Brothers has its issues.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I respect in some way that Kirby at least feels like it had like a vision that it was setting out for, right? Like it wanted to like make this game, I think, and have a different space in the platformer like lineup, right? And in some ways, I respect that more than Mario Brothers 2, which was sort of just trying to make another Mario Brothers game and not having a disaster, but not, you know, sort of being on the lower end of things, certainly. And so I think that I respect that. That Kirby, at this point especially, was standing on his own and as being a different thing, which is why I maybe would put it above it, but I get if you disagree.
I don't feel that strongly, honestly, about either way.
About putting it below it.
I'd be willing to
putting
put
Kirby
it
below Mario Bros.
Yeah, I'd be willing to put it above Super Mario Brothers. New Super Mario Brothers 2.
New Super Mario Brothers 2.
Gonna make
yes,
that,
we actually have regular Super
clear.
Mario Brothers, so New Super Mario Brothers 2, yes. Which you can follow along in the
Super
pastement down
Mario
below.
Brothers 2.
What a weird collection of Mario games we have here. It's like Mario.
A little bit of everything. A little bit of taste of everything. So, I don't know. You okay with that, Ills?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Okay. So where is it going on this dang O list?
Number 71.
71. Okay. So, just like that, we've completed the list portion for this week. Surrounding the new edition of Kirby's Dream Land, we have the 68 Legacy of Kain, Solar Reaver, 69 Zack and Wiki, Quest for Barbarossa's Treasure, I Started Too High, 70 Mario Tennis Aces, 71 Kirby's Dream Land, 72 New Super Mario Bros. 2, and 73 Mortal Kombat.
Nice.
You did start too high.
I did.
And you didn't even mention that a couple of those games were Game Club games.
You're right. A fair chunk of them, in fact.
And you didn't even mention the pay spin. Jeez.
I did, but I think Discord
did
died
earlier.
Well,
So.
I
No, I heard you mention it. We mentioned it earlier on the show. We just didn't mention it when we were supposed to remember, you know, which is what we do.
Fine. So there it is. Kirby's Dream Land. That is the list. That is the podcast for this week. I want to thank you all for listening very much. Very hard to pick who will get the last word because it's only 2 people. You know what?
Give it to yourself.
Yeah, why don't you? have it?
Okay. All right. Well then, Brandon, do you want to do plugs?
Sure, why not? Why not? I'm kind of dying here, but I'm gonna do it.
No, I can do it. It's fine.
No, I'm good. If you haven't noticed, I am kind of a little bit sick, but you know, I'd show up for this.
I didn't
shit
notice.
no
You
matter
did a
what.
good job hot masking it.
Look at that, Regis. I'm pulling the Regis. out.
Regis, yes, dude.
I don't even know what this is about.
But so if you guys want to make sure, if you listen this far into the episode and you really enjoyed what you heard here today, make sure you follow us on social media, all sorts of platforms out there that you can find us on, including Facebook and Instagram, and even more importantly, Twitter. Everybody loves Twitter.
No.
Well, I do, and I'm everybody. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's super important because we're going to post whenever episodes go live, man. And even more importantly than that, I guess, follow us on SoundCloud. Everything just keeps getting more important as I go. Make sure you follow us on SoundCloud to get updates on when we upload new episodes, and on YouTube now because we're on YouTube again, and Ills is doing us all a favor and uploading us on YouTube. So you can find us there. And on iTunes or wherever you want to listen to a podcast, except for Spotify. We're not on that yet. So we're getting less important. But if you follow us on iTunes, make sure you rate us 5 stars because your mom asked me to ask you to do that.
That was nice of her.
And
stop talking to my mom.
Very nice. She's nice. Well, she's a nice lady, man.
You don't know
she's
my
very
mom.
Nice. And she raised a good boy.
You don't know where she's been.
Anyway, we're also on Twitch, twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast, where we play video games once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you follow us on there if you want to see when we're going live, and maybe we're going to be playing your favorite game. Who knows?
Maybe.
And I feel like I'm missing a social media somewhere.
Instagram?
But
Twitch?
Instagram?
I said Instagram. You know what? Also, we have another show. It's called the Jump Up Supercast Game Club.
You're
We mentioned a little bit earlier. And this week we played Pokemon Trading Card Game 2. Here comes Team GR, Invasion of Team GR. I don't remember what the subtitle was.
Don't worry about it.
It's both. But we played that, and me and Ills, we beat this game so far.
I beat it.
I don't know how you
I beat
did
it.
You beat it?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk about that on the next episode of the Game Club. So if you're interested in...
Screech, one of those things.
Well, yeah, no. You'll see. You have to listen to find out. And we played a bunch of games so far. Games that are on the list. So if you're checking out the list, you see some games on there. Check out the Game Club because we played a bunch of games, and we even know on the list it'll say like club next to it. That means we played it on the Game Club. So check those out. If you say, "Oh man, Toomba, that's a cool game. I want to know more about it." Well, listen to the goddamn Game Club, motherfucker.
That's not a
Okay.
Game Club game.
Got so aggressive at the end there.
Oh no, it's not.
It's not.
It used to be.
You're thinking of the old podcast.
Oh,
Anything
well,
else but
You
Toomba.
literally had so many options. You're like 30 options.
I just love Toomba. I want people to know about it.
Oh, God.
Well, how about Shadow of Memories? You find out what the fuck happened in that game.
What an endorsement.
I love the
You got me.
podcast.
You tickled me, Brandon.
Anyway, Will, you ready for your last word, my friend?
Yeah. You mentioned it there, and it got me thinking, oftentimes, behind the scenes stuff, Regis says don't talk about behind the scenes, but I'm going to do it. So, this podcast, you hear every week, and maybe you're like, oh, these guys just do a thing, and then it just appears on my feed. No, you got Saf doing editing, you got Noah helping with that edit, making sure it all sounds nice, even though he's not on the podcast. Brandon handles all the upload and all that, all the important parts of getting on the SoundCloud. And Ellis just spent the last week of his life tirelessly uploading the YouTube videos and getting that current. So I just want to take my last word to give a vote of appreciation to all of you for putting in this time, even after I walked away from this dumb microphone. You guys help make the podcast possible, so thank you very much. Give him a shout out, folks.